Welcome to the Daughters of the Road podcast. In this space, we envision cultivating a community that inspires, empowers, and supports women in motorsports culture. We seek to engage in lifelong adventure, create perpetual bonds between sisters, and really hone in the skills necessary for navigation throughout life. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Brandy.
And we are Daughters of the Road. So today's guest is very special to the Daughters of the Road project. When I first started this project, actually in 2015, Giselle was one of the main contributors to the blog. So if you go on the website, you can actually see all these articles and interviews that were written by her. So we really couldn't have started this project without her. So it's awesome. We used to live in Florida together. We started a women's group with a bunch of other girls, and we rode all over for many years. And then she grew into the motorsports industry along the same timeline, and now has assumed roles in marketing positions, marketing manager positions. She's gone from AMA Pro Racing to Law Tigers and a couple other things in between. So we are so stoked to see your growth, to see, everything that you are going to do. And, it's just been awesome to be along for the ride. So thank you for joining us today. It's been so cool.
What an intro. I feel like I just attended my own eulogy. Wow, that was the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said about me. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked.
Thank you for always believing in this project. It's crazy to come full circle and have you on the podcast today. We appreciate everything. We appreciate everything and appreciate you being here and making time to be on the podcast. So thank you, Giselle.
Well, duh. I mean, when I saw that you guys were reviving this project, I was so stoked, and I couldn't imagine a better fit to co-captain with Kristen than you, Brandy. I mean, you guys are pretty much the pinnacle of what this is intended to be, and bringing and educating and uniting the Sisters of the Road, and I just love it, and I'm so thrilled to be here.
Oh, so cute. Yeah. Okay, enough sappy. So I met you first.
She's like, me first.
At Vintage Bike Night, and I was at MMI at the time.
Cafe Moto.
Remember? Moto Club, man.
Yeah.
We were in Orlando, and I remember your boyfriend at the time was like, Kristen, you absolutely have to meet my girlfriend. Period, point blank. So come to this, you're gonna meet her. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Cafe Moto. Oh man, yeah. Shout out to the Orlando motorcycle scene. So I really didn't know anybody, and I know we might get into this, but I didn't really know anybody else who rode, let alone any girls. And the bike I had at the time was a really beat up XS 400, but I loved it. It was kickstart only, so I was always bringing up the rear whenever we were riding out to Cafe Moto, because I was it stalled a light. I'm like, y'all just go ahead. I'll kick it 12 times and then I'll be there. But yeah, my boyfriend came back from MMI just talking about how rad this chick in his class was, and it's kind of funny because he would talk really highly of you, but also be kind of pissy because you were better than all the boys. He'd be like, she got top tech again. But he was like, she's so rad. She's been riding, basically her whole life. I think you would really hit it off. And he had no idea what he fucking started when he introduced us, because it was immediately we clicked and started riding together, rode with all the other girls in the area. And that really cemented for me how much I needed motorcycling in my life. I was like, this is just a different brand of person. And it was my people, essentially.
Yeah. And you had not had any influence into motorcycling besides when you just jump started head first into it. Tell us about that.
Literally spontaneity was the influence. It was just being impetuous, I guess. So I was 24 maybe when I learned to ride, which is super late. If you talk to a lot of people in this community, they're like, I've been riding my whole life, or my dad rode, or there's pictures of you guys sitting on your dad's motorcycle, your brother's motorcycles when you're kids, and I just didn't have that. Still to this day, nobody in my family rides but me. And the community I grew up in, it's not really super motorcycle friendly. There's not a lot of bikes. So, I guess this is going to sound really cliche, but I've always had kind of that rebellious streak of doing exactly what my parents didn't want me to do and taking risks. And at that point in my life, when I was about 24, I was going through a rough patch. I wasn't really sure who I was, and I'd just gotten divorced.
Yeah, who is sure of who they are at 24?
Dude, they make you believe that at 18 or 19 you've got this path paved and planned and ready, and it's all gonna fucking work out, right? And so I was married at 21 to my high school sweetheart, and I remember one day waking up and going, no, oh no, I'm a different person than who I was, and I'm not happy, and so getting divorced, anybody who's listening who's been through that understands that even as amicable and as like beautifully bow tied as that process could be, which ours really was, it's still kind of this crazy like loss. You lose a piece of yourself, a huge piece of the identity you've built.
Right.
You lose friends, you lose literal physical property if you own homes or cars or whatever, and then you have to start fresh, which is a blessing and a curse, right? And I remember one day waking up and thinking, and the roommate I lived with at the time rode and built, but it wasn't like his main gig. That's just what he loved to do. And I remember thinking, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. It makes him really happy, my roommate. I think I want to try it. And he was, bless him, he was like so helpful. He's like, just fucking go, man. He's like, book the course, just go. And I booked it and I committed and I showed up, never having sat on a motorcycle a day in my life. I had not even thrown a leg over one, and took the course, and it was terrifying. Short of giving birth, it's the most terrifying thing I've ever done, was show up to this motorcycle class and hope to pass, because I'm, I've never failed anything in my life either, because I'm that kind of, type A, like I'm not going to try if I think I'm going to fail, and then struggled, through the first day. And then after that kind of found my stride and ended up passing. And I remember thinking like, when I got that, the blessing from your instructor, like, you're good to go, go get your license. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, I did that. And then, obviously you don't just buy a Harley and go hog out. You got to, take the baby steps of getting like a starter bike and putting on the back roads. And
sheesh, that's not what I did.
You're the
She's the exception,
not the rule.
Right.
Johnny Law's like, I don't know if I get rub dirt on it, but I didn't have that. If I had your dad, dude, it probably would have been such a different, experience. But bless my dad, he wanted so badly to learn to ride because of me, and he still kind of does. And so, that to me also means a lot. That, like, they look at what I've done and the things that have come from motorcycling and admire that, and I've made them proud in a way that I don't even think they expected, which was cool. So yeah, here I am now. I'm still the only one in my family who rides, except for now my husband, is a rider, but definitely not as deep into moto core as I am.
Yeah, for sure. And now you guys have created a son.
Yeah.
And like, he's super fresh, but
Yeah.
like, do you envision that for him, like as a mom who does ride?
Man, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be really bummed if he wasn't into it. You know what I mean? I would love to share this with someone. I didn't have that, and I see, for those of you that have had that, kind of the bond that builds. And I just know what it's done for me. I mean, it really saved my life in a lot of ways. There was a whole lot of bad activities I could have been doing when I wasn't sure about who I was or, what I wanted to do. And it gave me that outlet and that sense of self and that confidence. And I want nothing, beyond that for my kid. So of course he's got a little Strider bike that he's like a giant 15-month-old now. He's huge, but it's still got the rocker bottom on it. So, it's a little rocking bike. And then eventually we'll take that off and he'll have a little balance bike. But as soon as he's ready for a 50, I'm getting one.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, I'm jealous that I can't rip around on a 50.
Right?
Like,
yeah, you're going to put him in like the PW50 class with other 3-year-olds, and they're going to be like, what is this 8-year-old doing in the class? He's so giant. If he's not a motorcyclist, I just want him to be an NFL player.
I know. I'm going to just put him on track with Cruz Texter, who is 5 years older than him. They're going to be the same size.
Oh yeah. 1,000%.
Corey, just have your son teach my son. They're the same size. It's fine.
That's awesome. But back to the Sportster, that was your first Harley Davidson.
Yes.
You had that after your XS, was that correct?
Man, there's, you guys know how it is when you try to count, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I had them at the same time. So I think that was the next one I bought and it was fresh off the lot, 2016. So that would have been 2015 when I bought it. 2016 Iron 883. It was like that army green color. Oh, it was beautiful. And that was my first Harley. And I'm gonna get so trolled for this, but I remember when I was going to these cafe moto nights, I remember thinking like, oh, this is cool. Harleys aren't cool. This is cool. And then I went to a bike week because we were in Orlando, so bike week's like down the road, and I drove because that 400 wasn't making that trip. Drove to bike week, and being around all the Harleys and just the rumble and the thunder and the party. And I was like, this looks fun. So then I bought a Sportster.
Brother.
Yeah, and I mean, you had yours, and I was like, look at her doing all these cool things, riding all these miles. She doesn't have to kickstart it. I want to be like that. And all the other girls in the area, there were a lot of Sportsters.
Yeah, we all had Sportsters at the time. That's the funny thing is how
Yeah.
much we've grown from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got a Sportster, and then I remember we took that trip in 2017. So she was on a Sportster still, and I had the Ultra Classic, the Evo.
Yeah.
And we put down, what was it? You have it on your, you
I
have
have
a
a
tattoo.
tattoo. What is it?
6,739 miles we did that trip.
Yeah, I got a tattoo of it, so I would never forget because people always ask. Yeah, I remember, and you know what? Little would I know that is the most, like, that's like the highlight of my resume when I talk to people about riding. They're like, you did what on a what? I'm like, yeah, I rode to California for Born Free and back to Florida on an 883. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And you know what? To Harley's credit, it wasn't that bad. Like, if you set it up right.
Yeah.
I had, like, highway pegs, and I had that stack of luggage that I could just kind of lean back on, and a little grandma windshield.
Yeah.
That bike, it took me there and back with no issue, man.
Right.
I rode it for another 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell anybody, if you're thinking of getting a Sportster and you like it, ride it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
they're fairly indestructible.
Yeah. It's going to get you where you want to go.
Oh,
period.
yeah. I took my Sportster across the country, but I was also 17 at the time, so very lubed joints at the time. But I mean,
motorcycles.
yeah, they
Yep.
would definitely do the job. If you put a windscreen on it, put a little more ergonomic handlebars,
Yeah.
they do the job for sure.
Well,
I agree.
and just learn, basically take a lot of yoga, just learn how to move your body around safely on the bike. Like, I had passenger pegs too, like I was going to stick anyone back there, but you put one leg back there, one leg on the highway bar, and just keep flopping around. And then eventually you like kind of lean over a little bit. But I mean, I remember your Evo gave you its own issues, but I remember Jimmy was on this like crate brand new Chieftain.
Yep.
And we'd be, I don't know, in Kansas, fighting the wind, riding sideways, and Jimmy's just sitting there cruising.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
with
like,
that little windshield that went up and down.
Yeah.
With the button.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
and
God.
I remember thinking, motherfucker, like me on my Sportster, just like
Yeah.
just wide open, just couldn't hack it.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy like was used to dirt bikes.
Yeah,
So he wouldn't
yeah.
have like he wouldn't have known what to do, but like at the same time, like he crushed so many miles on that trip on the
Wild.
Chieftain.
His first like street experience, period. He went and
Yeah.
got the license just to go.
Yeah. It was so awesome to see that.
I think we all had our own like mountains that we climbed on that trip for everybody's
yeah.
own reason. You know, like his
Yeah.
first street trip, man, that was probably that. I mean, it was my first and last real road trip. You know, I've been other places since, but obviously you can't go much further than that. And then you just had this like puzzle of an Evo that we would, every time we'd stop, you'd be like, how's my oil gone again?
Yeah.
I mean, it would just crush oil, and I'm
Yeah.
like, where is all that going?
Yeah. Well, it was still within the specification, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I did remember we had the Airbnb in California, and we all did oil changes and
We did.
on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. But
Yeah.
that was real cool. I mean, we experienced so much and grew so much. Like, I'm a totally different person than I was back then. But
Yeah.
at the same time, we are still very much heavily involved in all the things that we still liked.
Well, yeah. I mean, that I think even in a 4-wheel vehicle, a cross-country trip by yourself, essentially, like, yes, we were riding in groups, but you're in your own helmet, you're in your head, you have a lot of time to think. You're going to be tested in ways you don't think, like there's weather, there's exhaustion. I mean, we were chewing caffeine gum, there were the elements, right? We'd go from, I think in one day we went from 112 degree temps in the daytime, and then when we left at night thinking it would be a better situation, it was like in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, whoa, like.
And that time we were like on the side of the road because we couldn't find an exit and through the canyons, and it was 117
Yeah.
degrees. And it was so funny. Giselle was like,
Oh boy.
I can't do this anymore in the Sennas. And I was like, you have to. We all are all doing this right now, and there's no other option. Literally, there was no exits. And she was like going 98 on her little Sportster. And I'm
faster.
like, she's going to blow it up. That's it. And she just
and
left
I remember
us.
I had like I had like an oil temp gauge
Yeah.
in my little, and I would look down, it was like, it was way too hot.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was partially the elements, mostly me. But that was, it was exiting the north rim of the Grand Canyon. So we were balls deep in this trip.
Yeah.
And we were all tired and hot and all that stuff. And I remember I had a full ass meltdown like a fourth grader. Took off. We eventually like made it to the side of the road under an overpass where we could recoup, come back down to earth. And then we found a McDonald's where we could actually sit.
And then we ran into the Canada boys that were going to Born Free too.
The Edmonton boys from Canada, bless them, if we couldn't handle the heat, they really couldn't. But they were the first people I've ever seen brilliant to strap bags of ice to their handlebars on their choppers so that as it melts, it's hitting you. And I'm like, this is so fucking smart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They went out to the sprinklers outside of McDonald's and sat in them
water.
Too. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that trip definitely molded. One of the things it definitely gave me was the knowledge that, yes, I can do it, but do I want to do that on a Sportster ever again? No.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Did you guys start the Iron Lilies because everyone rode pretty much Sportsters, irons?
No.
How did that name come about?
Man, Letitia tells the story really well. So I wasn't part of the original OG inception. That Kristen, Letitia, Courtney, Casey, Samantha, Tracy, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all. And then, I mean, God, there's so many girls.
I know.
But so they started it originally, and it's because Letitia figured out that a lot of the OG women in motorcycling all had the first name Lily, which is not a common name, right? And so there's I think the history of the name is still on the website. The girls in Orlando are still the hub, but there's Iron Lilies all over the country now. And it was really just about reminding women that we're badasses. But not only that, you can still have that dichotomy of being feminine and pretty and wearing makeup on or off the bike and still be a badass. I think that's a big struggle that a lot of women have in motorcycling is you feel like you got to be tough. You feel like if you worry about what your hair looks like when you take your helmet off, someone's going to judge you for it. And it's no. First of all, be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
You can either give a shit or not. But just be who you are, and then the right people will find you, And I used to think that way. I'd be like, oh, fuck it. I'm not gonna brush my hair when I get off the bike. Who gives a fuck? And I'm like, no, I give a shit if there's a fucking bee stuck in there,
That was me that didn't give a shit.
Yeah, but then when we figured out we had to burn your hair off and start fresh.
Yeah.
Dude, when I first saw you with straightened hair out here, I was like, who did?
I'm 30 now.
Jesus.
Wait, tell me about the burning hair thing. What's that?
No, it was just a stretch.
But
But
I'd ask her, when's the last time you brushed it?
yeah,
She couldn't tell me.
I had dreads, and it was it would harbor random ass things. I'd have I'd literally have I don't know. We
Sticks.
lived in Florida, so there would be sticks in it, and people would come up and pick them out, and I'm like, fuck.
Love bugs.
So-
Oh man, dude.
Yeah.
And she'd be sitting there just trying to run a comb through it and just mutilating it.
Because it hurt so bad, I was like, dude, I don't want to deal with this every day.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's better ways to do it, just routine maintenance.
Well, now
Mechanic.
I know. Well, now I know. See, I spent so much time mechanic and other things that I'm like, I don't care about my outside. But, we go through what we go through.
Phases.
So, yeah. But back then, you were a teacher.
I was. Yep.
Like-
Yeah, the Iron Lilies found me, or I found it, right at that point of transition. But my degree by trade, I am an English teacher, and I have a German degree, and English is a second language. And so at the time I was teaching 12th grade English, which is not what I thought I wanted to do, but I ended up really loving it. And I was 22 when I started that job. You can imagine what a cluster that was.
Oh my God, her rolling up on a Harley tattoo.
Oh, they
is
loved it.
Oh yeah.
Dude, they loved
Biggest crush of all
hog
those boys.
wild. I know, and it's crazy when you get out of teaching and now they feel empowered to tell you about all of the weird teacher, fantasies they had. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
please leave me out of your mouth. Thanks.
Forget I ever existed.
Get out of
Thank
my
you.
DMs. I'm good now. But I mean, teachers have one of the hardest jobs on the planet. I will always be an advocate for it. I mean, I know it firsthand, but geez, who would any of us be without teachers?
Yeah.
We'd be nobody. Yeah. And there's some of the most, in our country, some of the most undervalued people, underpaid, and underempowered, especially in the state of Florida. I love where we live, but education there is not valued, and a teacher's opinions are not valued. And that is what pulled me out of it. Is I was pouring so much of myself into it that I would come home exhausted, crying. I mean, the decisions being made, I felt were not in the best interest of students, and I just couldn't support that machine anymore. And I really had to figure out what I wanted to do and what my calling was. And Adam Sandoval came and saved the day. You know, I met him with you at events and then did some rides with him, and he really kind of took me under his wing and said, you know, if you really want to, like, you know, take some time and figure out what you want to do, come work for me. And so I moved to Oklahoma the first year that he purchased the K River campground, when it was just a campground, nothing like it is now.
It wasn't even a campground. It was just like land.
Well, I mean,
Wasn't it?
he took over a functioning campground, but it was not a motorcycle campground.
Right.
It was in some serious disarray, disrepair, needed some love. And he's like, just come and do my social, run my brand, you know, come and stay here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, you lived in a little cabin. I remember coming to visit you, and I was like, whoa.
What a departure from like growing up in like urban parts of Florida, you know. And I was like, he would make fun of me because, you know, Adam's lived every walk of life and lived 1,000 lifetimes. So I'd be like, bro, like what? I've never lived in this like kind of situation before. And he would just laugh. But like, everything was a teachable moment there. Like, even, you know, he had these side-by-sides, and I remember I broke one. You know, I got it caught on something, broke the brush guard or something. I broke one somehow. And he looked at me and was like, well, then fix it. And I was like, huh? I'm like, I'm your social media person. How am I going to fix it? He's like, fix it. There's tools. Like, get underneath it, figure out what's busted, and fix it. And I did. And I remember sliding out from underneath it, like covered in grease, with the one ratchet required to fix a silly part. And I was like, I did it. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. And I feel like that's the perfect, like, summary of that whole experience. Was he brought me out there and was like, just do your best and we'll figure it out. And, you know, that working for him really propelled me into the industry. I met a lot of people. He taught me everything he knew because he had already, you know, been in it for at least 5 years at that point, done his first major campaign. So he was a big name, and he is always very good at fostering the growth of new people in riding, especially women. He is a huge advocate for women in the industry in like the least threatening way possible.
Yeah.
And I've always admired that about him. And if you've ever met his wife, it's the same thing. Like, all he does is he just wants women, her included, to just, you know, be recognized for the force that they are. He met my parents finally at his Gainesville stop for his Great American Convoy. My parents showed up with my kid, and he just said like the nicest stuff. I think he said something like, if you want to meet a hardworking woman, you know, it's your daughter. And I remember thinking like that means a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just a real testament to who he is. And he gave me his blessing when I decided I wanted to move on to AFT, and do some greater responsibilities for them and go racing basically. And he blessed me and said, I'm happy for you, and sent me on my way.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, all history now, but
Yeah, that's rad. How did you get into AFT, and what is AFT?
Oh, American Flat Track. I like how Kristen's asking.
Yeah.
Kristen's asking
Well, the
what
people
AFT
don't
is.
know.
I know, right? Well, if you don't know what American Flat Track is and you're at all interested in motorcycles, you're under the world's largest rock, because it
Yeah.
is the coolest thing. And I remember you and I discovered Flat Track together because we had some friends. Letitia was really the closest to us, but we had some friends that were hooligan racing. And that was right when Harley kind of started adopting and recognizing hooligan racing. Flat Out Friday was brand new. So, you know, our friends Sean and Aaron from Suicide Machine Co. needed some bikes transported from Daytona up to the hooligan race during AFT in Atlanta. So Kristen, with her big blue number 1 GMC, was like, I got a truck, let's do it. So, you know, I was like, sure, I'll go. So we loaded up the Suicide Machine Co. bikes and we went up to Atlanta. So we're sitting there in the hooligan pits, just hanging out. Our job was done. And then I remember it was the singles. The 450 singles took the track. And then you hear that, like, it's like a sound of angry bees, the singles. And you're like, what is that? So she and I, like a couple of kids, are on this chain link fence watching this flat track racing, just in awe. We're like, I can't believe, A, they move their motorcycles like that. B, they're going that fast. C, they're on dirt. And D, it's like this perfect synchronized dance. They're not hitting each other.
Until they
did.
That was like the worst crash I've
Carnage.
ever seen.
Dude, that race was carnage, especially the 450s. That was that tumble that they always use in commercials.
Yeah.
It's like Corey Texter just went under a wave of bikes. And Ryan Wells. I
Ryan
think.
Wells, yeah.
Yeah. So, we were like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And of course, then you have the twins, right? And you're like, those are the big bikes that I ride on the street are ripping around in perfect union on dirt. And it's just, people are like, but they just go in circles. But it's just so much more than that. It's not one line. They're calculating. It's chess. It's high speed chess.
Yep.
And it's not just about the rider. It's about the mechanics and it's about the prep. And so I fell in love instantly. And I, from there, went to a couple other races on my own dime just to see. And then I, through Law Tigers, actually, got connected to the people at AFT and went out to dinner. And I remember telling them, your sport's amazing. How can I help you get it in front of more people? And they were like, our social media really needs help. We don't really have a dedicated person. And I was like, let me do it. And then from there, that just grew into a larger role doing all of their communications. That job was such a blessing. It was so fun. I made so many friends, really family in the sport, riders, people who work for the series. It was just amazing. And then, when they were like, well, our social media really needs more help. I'm like, well, the photos, we need more photographers. And then, I was Kristen who, you have very little belief in your talent sometimes. I think you're finally starting to understand just how good you are.
I don't know about that. Every day it's a constant battle. I'm like, you can do that. You can do that. Because she's like, I'm like, Kristen, you have the talent to do it. Just do it.
Yeah, you are such a Renaissance woman. And but the one thing I remember from our friendships, one of your oldest passions was photography.
Yeah.
And it was photography of all kinds. But you claimed to be such a novice, but you had always had the talent. And I knew that. I mean, as your friend, I look at everything you do and I think it's amazing, but I knew we needed that perspective because your photography is very unique in that you capture the soul of the person in that moment. You're very good at recognizing what that person is going through and finding the right angle and composition to capture the moment so it communicates through the photo. And you've always been able to do that. And that's what the sport was missing. That's what a lot of motorsports are missing, is that understanding the human element. Sure, like the whoops are cool, the jumps are cool, in Supercross, but can you really very seldom in a lot of motorsports, 4-wheeler too, are you seeing these moments of the first 5 seconds after their helmet comes off when they've won their first race.
Yeah.
And you're always there for that. And the sport is blessed to have you now that I'm out of it. And you've got the reins and the keys to the kingdom. They're blessed to have you telling that story.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. Yeah, a lot of times I deal with an imposter syndrome kind of thing. I think we all do, but we're working through that as I get older and more experienced. But yeah, that's my favorite part of the job, is actually connecting to the people, and the people need to be connected to the sport. And how do you do that? It's through the relationships that you build even far away to these racers, and you start to believe in them and you start to root for them, and that's how you grow the sport.
Right.
So I love being able to create those moments, and that's my favorite part. I would love to create these amazing racing pictures with a blurry background and everything. I've done that, but that's not what gets me fired up.
Right.
I'm all about the emotion, the story.
Right.
That's what we're doing here, is capturing the story and the life lessons. And, it's just everything that I do is like a giant diary of everybody that I've encountered. So that's what's amazing about every project that we do, is that we are able to share that with people. So
great.
Yeah, I think that's my first and foremost major passion. And then yes, all the things that come with it are exactly aligned. So.
Well, yeah, I think we're just in general, so bombarded with so many options of where to put our attention, our time, our investment. It's hard to break through all the noise and really tell people this is the thing you need to care about. But as motorcyclists, we know that whether it's racing or whether it's, a particular beautiful road or a particular women's group, we know this did something for me in my life. This is something I'm passionate about. I know there's somebody out there that needs to know about it. So you just try your best to kind of cut through all that stuff and get to that person who needs it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way that you make the racers become real, because when I followed AFT in the beginning, it was rad, of course, seeing all the different jumps and stuff, but you made it real, humanized it. You go and dig for hey, how was your day today? Some random question. I'm that's so sick. I love her mini mic sessions, where she goes and asks random questions, but it's cool because you get to actually meet kind of the racers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they do have little meet and greet sessions during the races, which is kind of cool because, you know, like you'll see little kids running up to their favorite racers, and I'm like, you know, there's some way they connected to that racer. And, you know, if I was able to facilitate that, that's even cooler because these kids are growing up in a social media world.
Yeah. And you know what's, you know, interesting and crazy about the racing world. I mean, I'm not as closely connected to like, you know, motocross or supercross, but is, you know, we watch that and we're fascinated by what they do because to us, it's dangerous, it's exciting, it's cool. We can't do it. So we're like, this is amazing. But then they look at us, you know, like Shayna Texter's a great example. We talk to her a lot. They're like, y'all be ripping those clapped out Harleys with giant engines and oil leaks out on the road with people you can't control, right?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part for them, is understanding that there's all these things, that elements we can't control that could harm us.
Yeah.
And we look at it like, y'all are doing 120 mile an hour on a mile on dirt.
I'll never
that's
forget.
crazy.
Yeah, I'll never forget one of the racers was like, well, you guys don't have an ambulance right beside you.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. You know, like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, we don't. And it's funny, it's just the appreciation, I think. That's like a very good example of how motorcycles unify people, because what we do and what they do, very different.
Yeah.
But at the core, we have that mutual respect, because it's like, but you're still motorcycle people. Sure, you're still my people.
Yeah.
And I think I would kind of implore anybody who hasn't looked into two-wheeled motorsports, and like, you know, you're looking for something to do with your buddies or something to watch on a Saturday night, like start looking at some of these two-wheeled sports, motocross, supercross, world supercross, AFT, and you may find your new passion. You know, they've got fantasy leagues for the motocross, supercross stuff, and I think AFT should have a fantasy league.
Oh, yeah. Somebody did start one.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how big it's gotten because I haven't really looked into it, but I thought that was awesome.
I know. I bet if they really had like one that was out there, you know, Jared Mees would be updating it all the time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and then he'd be playing under a fake name.
Yeah. Anything for $1. I love that. So you did a FXR Dyna show as well back in the day. Were you still a teacher during that time? Like, how did you
Yeah.
even get into that?
Whew, man. Okay, Brandy. You know how I'm always telling you, like, I don't know how you do what you do as many times as you do it. I planned one bike, well, 1.5, because it had like a little follow-up. One bike show in my whole life, and I'm done planning bike shows. So in 2018, and I mean, obviously we started planning it in 2017. 2018, I got connected with Jordan, who at the time ran the Performance Harley Instagram page, and he's, you know, since moved on and is like this crazy mogul. And he was like, he was a Dyna bro, and he's like, you know, there's a good, you know, scene around Central Florida that we really, you know, we need to tap into. And he's like, FXRs and Dynas are hot right now. And he was the first person that ever looked at me and was like, you know what's next? Performance baggers. They were not big. People were building them. They were popping up, but they weren't huge yet. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. And so we're like, let's do one of those. And it wasn't just FXR Dyna, there were performance baggers in it too. We had a whole class, we gave out awards. And I was like, okay, I'm good at logistics. I know a few people in the area. I know Ace Cafe pretty well. I can get us a venue. And I know some of the stunt guys. I can get us, you know, East Coasting came out and did a show for us. I was like, sure, let's do it. And then Hot Bike, Jordan from Hot Bike Jordan.
Yeah.
That was, you know, before now he's brought that back. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
That was before it went away and came back. He was like, yeah, sure, we'll support it. It can be a hot bike event. And that just propelled it. And so we had all these other great brands come behind it, Bassani Exhaust. We had, Plex Audio, like anything that was big for Dynas and FXRs, we had those people kind of agreeing to come, and we just wanted them to come then, right? Yeah. But they were like actually believing and supporting. So we did this really awesome ride and bike show. East Coasting came and did this awesome show during Bike Week. It was the first Saturday of Bike Week in 2018 at Ace Cafe. And I remember the moment where it's kind of, the show had kicked off maybe a half an hour in, and I walked up Ace Cafe, RIP, by the way, they're leveling that. Mm-hmm. I walked up the tower of Ace Cafe to look down, and I like took this video, panned around the whole lot, and it was full of bikes and full of people. And I remember just taking a breath, and Brandy, I'm sure you can relate, and being like, we did it. It didn't flop. And it's that people are like out here having fun. And that feeling, I think, must be what keeps you going, because the stress ball that you are for like a year out all the way up to the event. I mean, you are planning everything from the entertainment all the way down to where people are going to take a piss.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, every minor detail. You have to plan and check again and recheck. And everybody's calling you all the time with questions that they could have Googled.
Yes.
PSA, if you can Google it, please Google it
Please
first.
do that. Oh my God.
Don't just call the person who's got their phone ringing. Just Google it first. And then if you can't find it, ask. But yeah, that was fun. And I definitely made a lot of connections even to this day, you know, people who may not remember that I was behind that. If I'm like, oh yeah, I remember, like Jordan, when he brought back Hot Bike, we were on the phone and, you know, my boss Ari introduced us like, hey, Giselle, she does our social media. And I was like, Jordan, we've met. You sponsored my FXR show. He goes, oh, that Giselle. I'm like, there's only like
There's
one.
only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know any other Giselles.
Yeah,
So-
and then like suddenly the tone was lifted a little bit because we had already like had that connection. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. Would never do it again. So Brandy, feel free. I will. If anyone ever asks me, I'll be like, you know, who's the girl? Brandy.
Yeah, for sure.
She's the event
Well,
girl.
thank you, because it does. That's what does drive me. Like anytime we have an event, and I always look around, and it's like the smiles, the laughs, the people connecting. Like I love watching people connect, and then them creating something awesome. You know, like I don't know. That's the reward for me because it's a lot, but I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's helped me grow too, because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to follow up with that person, and not kind
Yeah.
of like brushing it off and being like whatever. So,
Yeah, and you never do it. And well, the events that really like are in it for the long haul anyway, it's not for you, right? You don't do it. You don't do it to slap your name on it, which nothing that we ever did. We never branded it ourselves. You do it because you want people to come and have that experience and love it, you know? And I think, Brandy, you're behind so many more things than I think a lot of people realize. And it's because your heart's truly in it and you know that you love it and that you have the passion to make other people love it too. And the people who are truly good at it, events that are going to run for more than one go, that's what it takes. You know, it's not so that you get the glory of the moment. It's so that you can put in the sweat equity so that other people can enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Which that's what you're perfect for.
Yeah.
Thank you,
True
Giselle.
talent.
That builds my heart. Little sappy moment.
Yeah.
No, it is a
Thank
true
you.
talent because I mean, I have never been interested in event coordination. I've looked at it before and been like, I think I could do that, like logistically, you know, like I can handle that. But then I look at like actually doing it, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not my scene.
There's a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot. And even up to like the moment right before everything goes live, right? It's like, shoot, did I do that? Shoot, did I do that? Okay, make sure, and like double, triple checking everything. And of course, there's things that fall through the cracks, and you roll with the punches and you keep going. And sometimes it ends up a lot better than you initially imagined. So it's fun.
It is fun, dude. And that's where would motorcycling be without rad events?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we all
Exactly.
like meet and
Yeah.
connect, you know, like if anybody's ever doubting, is it worth like having this meetup or this ride or whatever? Yeah, it is, because you never know. Like if Cafe Moto had not been a thing, you and I never would have met.
Oh yeah. 1000%. I love events. I'm a major supporter of them. I'm always at an event, but do I want to be the one behind the scenes? No. And do I have a lot of appreciation for them? Absolutely. 1000%. They make our world go round.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Yeah.
these kind of events.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is my opportunity to plug like what I do. But yeah,
Yes.
like, so I think, you know, Law Tigers, who I now work for, you know, what most people associate us with is just we're everywhere. The brand is everywhere. But, you know, what we actually do requires people to be in an accident, which we're never hoping for. And they really don't. They happen often, but not as often in a situation where we would be needed.
Yeah.
And that's fine with us. We don't want people to be in accidents, but we do need them to remember to call us if they are. So that being said, how do we remind people that we care and that we're here? Any event, anywhere, we're going to help in any way we can. I mean, all the way down to when people are like, I need a tent. Yeah, I can't go race this race in my home state. I need a tent. And we're like, okay, we'll buy it for you. You know, just put our logo on there. Just put a sticker on the side of your bike. Like, we'll buy your tent, or we'll get you some tablecloths, or we'll help you make shirts. Like, you know, what we do is empower the community to come together, to unify, to be together. Obviously, we're all stronger together, and we're everywhere, and there's so many of us. We have that force in numbers, and we share that as best as we can. So events are really our bread and butter, and we're very much a grassroots company. we pride ourselves on actually physically being everywhere. You know, if you go to Sturgis, you're blind if you haven't seen us and our signage or our people out on the street, because, you know, you're not, why are you going to call somebody to help you in the worst moment of your life if, you know, you don't trust them?
Yeah.
So our goal is to make sure that, you know, people understand that we support them all the time, not just if they've been wrecked and you know, they need to call us for an accident. So
Yes.
Events are huge. That's our bread and butter. And I am, you know, anybody who is anywhere in the country and is trying to put together an event, you know, feel free to reach out to us. If you reach out to us on Instagram, that's me.
Yeah.
And I will always get you to the right person. You know, we'll help in any way that we possibly can. So
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love, is that it's based on a foundation of community support.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what you were saying is that you're there for them along every step of the way if you're
Yeah.
involved in the motorcycle industry. So it's not just if you're in an accident, that's not the primary focus. It's how do we build this community together, and how do we look out for each other all the time through
Yep.
ups and downs.
Exactly. Yeah. And we just want, you just want to remind people as much as possible, we're here for you. And then if that moment happens where you absolutely need us, like you know, you're going to think of us.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yep.
And when you transition into Law Tigers, like, being that it is everywhere and in every sector of motorcycling, like, what has it been like experiencing every sector of motorcycling basically? And like, what trends are you spotting? Is there anything that like sticks out to you?
Yeah. Well, you know, what's interesting is we operate in, you know, over 30 different, what we call markets, right? Different areas. And every area is manned by its own individual who lives and rides and breathes that community. So, and I interface, because I work at the corporate level, with all of them. And then sometimes I'll go to events in all these areas. So each one is its own like living, breathing entity. Like Mississippi motorcycling is not the same as San Diego motorcycling. And it's just so eye-opening, because me, one individual, I don't get to take that all in, but because there's all of us and we communicate regularly, I obviously follow all their pages, I can kind of see what they're all doing and just appreciate just how diverse this community is. But like we've already covered, there's that one thread of the one thing that we all love so much that ties us all together. But I mean, it's been just a great thing to appreciate and see just how different we all are, even all the way down to like the style of motorcycle is a great example, right? California bikes, very, very different from like somebody who lives in Virginia in the mountains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their bike's going to be set up differently. It's going to be a different color scheme. It's going to sound different because of like the culture of that area.
Right.
And whenever I'm like onboarding new marketing people, that's kind of what I tell them. I'm like, it is you, it's your page. You're the one who's representing us in this area. Yes, you've got a brand to think of, but you're also Law Tigers San Diego, or you're Law Tigers Alabama. So you got to be true to your community. Otherwise, they're not going to trust you. Right. So you got to speak the language. You got to go to the events. You got to dress the way that these people dress to ride, you know, and talk to them the way that you would want to be talked to as a rider in this community.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, we're corporate in our size, but we're not. We're also like your neighborhood, you know, riding buddy. And that's what we aim to be, is like everything to everyone all the time. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all haven't seen Chopper Giselle.
Law Tigers has not seen Chopper Giselle. We're America's motorcycle lawyers. No, Chopper Giselle just learned a lot and became a mom. And
Yep.
yeah, I did. I mean, we've all been through that, right? Everybody who discovers motorcycles discovers the party, discovers taking the risks, discovers riding in shorts with Vans and your socks up to your knees, like that's going to do anything. I remember on my FXR with my beautiful Bassani exhaust, I remember one time not putting the kickstand down all the way on my 14-inch lifted FXR, and I almost laid it down, but I'm like, not my bike, I'm not laying it down. So of course, because I was in shorts, because I'm stupid, laid it down onto my leg. I still have that like giant looking pipe burn scar.
Oh yeah.
Ever since, never again. Like
Yep.
Chopper Giselle rode in shorts. Mom Giselle will not.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
Speaking of that FXR, I'm still butthurt about that, but
And I sold it.
not to me.
to Mad Pen. Listen, what was you just weren't in the right place at the right time to get that deal. If Nick, if you ever hear this, tell nobody what you paid for that beautiful thing because
I'll come and kill you. I know what it is.
I'll get cut for what I sold it for.
Oh man, I was so bummed. But pretty much when I worked at East Orlando Harley and I was going to school at the same time, I found this FXR under a
tarp, right?
A tarp.
Yeah.
And it was on our list of bikes that could be sold, like used bikes, and I was like, where the fuck is this FXR? And because I wanted one, and I was like, well, I ain't got no money, so I'm just gonna go find this FXR and see what we're selling it for. So found it, immediately hit up Giselle because I knew she was looking for a bike, and I was like, Giselle, you have to come buy this. You have to come buy this. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't know what it costs, but you have to come buy it. Dude, what did they finance you for? Like $2,500?
No, it's $33 out the door.
Yeah,
I know.
That's
It was like
insane.
it was $30 a month. Yeah, listen, it was
Absolutely
a '93 FXR Sport, and it was all original tins, not a dent. It was beautiful, just not running, and nobody knew why. But the best part about the story is the reason it was covered up was that the head of service had hidden it because he wanted to buy it. So he hid it in the back. It was listed that they could sell it, but I guess he was hoping nobody would see it.
Oh, he did not think any of us would sell. There was 3 salespeople.
Yeah.
And the 2 other dudes didn't give a shit. And I was just like, where's this FXR?
Yeah. So was it a staff meeting or something that somebody was like, who sold the FXR?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I heard wind of it and I was like,
Kristen's just sinking in her chair.
I was like, I don't work here anymore. Fuck. And so yeah, I didn't work there very long, but I was able to pull out an FXR for you, and I was super stoked on that.
Amazing. And that the process of, bless my boyfriend at the time, he, helped me through the whole thing and obviously did a majority of the hard work because he's an MMI grad. But like picking out what I wanted that bike to be, how I wanted it to look, that was so much fun. And I think the beauty of FXRs and Dyna culture in general is it can be whatever you want it to be. And I guess any Harley's kind of like that. They're so customizable. There's so many options, and you can make it just so you. And that bike, I mean, there's people that are going to hear this now that still don't know they got rid of it, even though it's obvious that I'm on the, the Me Too Road Glide right now.
Me Too Road Glide.
But like, they're just such a part of you that bike would be parked and people would know that I was there. Like they'd stand next to it. I'd walk up to it and they'd be like, I knew you were here. I saw this bike. And it was like, dang, like everybody knew. And that's how I actually met Kaylin Thorian, because she still has blue, but we had matching FXRs.
Yep.
And so we reached out to each other. We're like, holy cow, we have the same motorcycle. And then we finally met in person. It was like we were, FXR sisters. I mean, once again, that's just how motorcycling brings people together. But that bike, it gave me a lot of opportunity, gave me a lot of confidence, right? Because it was a bigger motorcycle. I mean, I thought it was so fast, but I mean, it's a slug when you think about it.
It is. I mean, it is fast because it is a lightweight bike with a big engine.
Right.
I mean, it does feel faster.
Right. Yeah. But it's hands down. I've ridden a lot of bikes since then. That is still, to me, the best handling motorcycle I ever rode.
Oh yeah.
The most fun to ride. Like.
Hence why I now have 2.
I know.
I had 3.
I want to cry thinking about it. And anybody who talks to me now, anytime I see an FXR build, I'm always going to tell you my opinion because why shouldn't you care? But like, I just love that motorcycle and that platform so much. And B, I'm in the market for one.
Yeah, but now they're like $12,000. So
in honesty, I think I've devised a plan. I'm gonna call in a few favors and have one built. Put the money in investment, have somebody who really knows what they're doing, shall not be named. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. Build one for me. And he's going to cut me a deal on it.
Damn.
He said he would, but.
That's rad. I need somebody to cut me a deal.
I mean, I'm still going to have to like sell my firstborn son, but then I'll have one I'll have one to leave to him one day is the goal, is really get like that beautiful dream bike that one day I can leave to my kid and be an heirloom piece.
Isn't that crazy? Like we just had Alexis on the podcast, and I asked her what her goal was in 10 to 15 years, which we will get to, or it's 5 to 10 years. And she said, like her son's going to be 17 at, like the tip of that. So she wants to be able to build both of her FXRs, but one that she bought herself on Mother's Day, and then another one that she wants to build for her son when he's able to ride, and then they ride alongside of each other. And I thought that was amazing. Like, it's crazy.
So cute.
It's
She's
beautiful.
Like, I just want to ride next to him. Like, he always asks her, like, when are we gonna go on a long road trip?
Yeah.
That's
No,
cool.
it's beautiful. Like, I just came back from the Chopper Friends Throwdown, which, obviously I went for work. I went for Law Tigers. And, Ari's a big supporter of all those builders. And one of the beautiful things about that, thing that these guys do every year where they build these bikes that aren't for customers, that aren't for a project, it's for themselves. They build these bikes to come together and like do this ride down to AZ Bike Week, is that Paul Yaffe and Brian Clock, and they're incorporating their kids. Like, Paul brought his son Nash, and Brian obviously has Cargo. And their kids are just involved. And James Patience brought his son Jax. Actually, Jax, I think, is 16 or 17 now. Don't get mad. But he actually built a bike with his dad.
That's
so it's just like, man, like, that's probably my favorite thing, is just watching how we just pass these passions on to the next generation. And, you talk to anybody who sells motorcycles and they're like, young people just aren't riding. They're just not. And I have the faith that maybe we just need to be a little more creative in getting them away from video games and all that other instant gratification stuff. Maybe we need to figure it out, but it's there. I mean, this shit's cool.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out how to cut through the noise and get to them. But yeah, I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not. Like you said, you do need to be creative, because there's a lot of kids now that are just Ubering everywhere. They don't have any interest in even getting their driver's license in general, versus a motorcycle license. That's a lot more work.
Dude, I know. Like, I remember when I was 15 to get my permit in the state of Florida. You're 15 years old. I went, had the eye exam, and they're like, ooh, you need glasses to drive. And I had a fucking meltdown, cried. I was like, I just want to get out and drive and do stuff and be a person. Yeah. I was so ready.
Oh, I was so ready.
Me too.
Yeah.
Dude, and kids now are like, no.
I was borrowing cars at 13. So.
Right. I was driving at 14.
Well, I think it's because we needed that transportation to do anything, versus like they have entertainment at home now more so.
We did too. I had NES. Nintendo.
Oh my God.
I was like, what's an NES?
I was blogging, so I mean, you could see the transition of my life.
Journal.
Yeah, I had like a Xanga.
MySpace.
I was like writing film scripts, and I was like it was hilarious. I could see where my life evolved into exactly what it is.
I mean, we had computers too. Like, we were chatting all day.
But it took 17 minutes to get on the internet, and your parents would yell at you because they could hear it.
But it was, you know what? We were ready to hang out with our friends. We weren't as instantly connected to each other as kids are now, right?
Yeah.
They're on Snapchat, they're on TikTok, they literally are FaceTiming. Like, that's a huge generational thing that I noticed, is that the younger generations aren't just making phone calls or texting, they're actually FaceTiming. Because it's how, I don't need to go hang out with you. I can just put you on FaceTime.
And Snapchat. The thing I don't understand is the streaks. Like, when they Snapchat, and oh my God, when I say they, it's so funny. When those kids Snapchat and they're just there with the phone and literally stale facing it, take a picture, write something, and then that goes to like 70,000 people because they have to have a streak. I'm like, I do not understand.
And why are you not dedicated to like brushing your teeth the way you are your Snapchat streak?
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or have you heard about Be Real? That's the new one that they're on.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like,
Sheesh.
it's you have to post. Someone's gonna correct this. You have to post whatever you're doing in that moment. You don't have an
back camera.
Correct. You don't have an opportunity to edit, pose, nothing. So it's whatever's in front of you and you. And it's being real. And I'm like, what?
That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
What if you're on the poop? Like, what if I'm taking a dump? Can you?
What if you're wiping?
Then how are you on your phone?
Can you imagine how many?
What?
Just
I do my
kidding.
best work on the toilet. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Can you imagine how many freaking toilet photos are on Be Real? Like, let's be honest.
real.
Yeah, let's be real.
I want somebody who works there to actually make a catalog of it.
All the toilet. I feel like that's not legal.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So speaking of social media trends, you're a social media specialist, really.
Yeah, that's the
so what trends, I mean, we just talked about a trend, right?
Yeah.
But like, what trends have you wished we skipped over?
Oh, what a great question. Man. So I have an issue with trending audio, because I feel like all of this is gonna make me sound very old, which I am, dude. I was born in the 80s, but like, I have an issue with posting a video with trending audio just because it's trending. You know what I mean? Like, I have an issue with tying what's going to resonate with people with a stupid sound. Like, it could be a dog farting into a toilet bowl and it echoing, and enough people think it's funny, and now that's a trending sound. So now you've got like videos of people sitting at their computer going, want to make your reel pop off? Use this sound. Do this.
Yep.
You know, like I get fed so many of those. TikTok dancing trends.
Oof, I wish that never existed.
I had so much fun with that at the dealership. I was like, girls, can y'all learn this so that I can do this?
Like, but that's me being salty. Like, I can't floss. We figured out. I can't. I mean, I'm not a bad dancer.
Well, I come from a dancing background, so it really irks me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kristen's over here like, you say you're popping and locking, but you're really two-stepping.
You're really body rolling.
First of all, popping and locking are totally different styles.
Here we go.
So can you demonstrate that?
No.
Yeah, like this is a whole nother rabbit hole for people. If you YouTube search Lady Lassen and you fall down the rabbit hole, there's this one particular video of her dancing at a dance.
It's private now. It's crazy.
You know who controls that?
I didn't. No, it's not mine. It's somebody else's. They made it private. But I do have that on my phone regardless. It's on my Instagram if you go far enough. But you know what's funny is that my name, Lady Lassen, actually originated from dancing.
Oh, wow.
That's right. You had a crew.
Yeah.
What were you called?
Groove Engineers.
Yeah, Groove Engineers.
And one of my dance
Energy?
crew members, no, it was Corbin, who I went to college with. We were in college, and he was basically, it was me and Bobé. We were like the only girls going to all these dance events. Naturally, I'm always the only girl, I feel like. But in this particular dance style, we were very few women. So
you're a popper?
I was a popper, yeah. And popper.
Jalapeno.
Yeah, jalapeno popper. So they were like, okay, well, you're one of the only chicks, so Lady Lassen, that sounds good. Because you always had to have a dance name.
Yeah.
So that's how it came.
Brandy, what would your dance name be?
Goodness. I think you guys should make me one because I have no idea.
Oh, what would her dance name be?
What would your dance name be?
Me?
Yeah.
Giselle.
Giselle.
Okay, how PG is this?
Not really.
Can I tell you about this nickname I had and the sad story around it? So in middle school, all my friends were boys because I'm just strange. I've always been strange, but boys made more sense. Still do. And I had this friend named Blaine, and we're still friends now. He was always a little like eccentric, but he one day just decided to start calling me Jizz Rag. In the 7th grade, I didn't know what that was. Didn't know what it meant. No fucking clue, right? So I was like, all right, whatever. Like, not much bothers me. Like, use my name, don't. Call me that forever. I think maybe it was 9th grade. And one of my other friends was like, why do you let him call you that? And I was like, I don't care. And he goes, you know what that is? And I'm like, no. Went into just the
birds and the bees,
the
education.
Well, I knew that. I knew that. I just had never thought about the necessity to have a tube sock or a juice rag at your disposal.
Well, in 6th grade, I mean.
And then when I put it together, I was like, oh no. Like, no.
I've been called this for 3 years. My identity's gone.
Yeah.
That was your first identity crisis.
Right. I had this like whole existential problem where I had to basically had to do a whole rebrand.
Yeah.
In the 9th grade, where I was like, no, guys, and then this didn't do me any favors. I had no idea what that was. But yeah. So then now when people kind of mispronounce my name or call me something, like people call me Jizz all the time or Jizzle or whatever, and then they're like, does that bother you? I'm like, no, I was called Jizz Rag for 3 years. I think I can hack whatever mispronunciation you throw at me.
That is so funny.
It's fine.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. I don't know. I never really had any nicknames. My family was primarily Hispanic, so they would always mispronounce it, like Christine.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, but that was pretty much it.
Yep.
I was Doe. My sister called me Doe.
What is that?
I have no idea.
How is
but
that
I don't
spelled?
know. I have no
D-O?
idea. I guess so, but that's what she called me. She'd just be like, "Where's Doe at? Where's Doe at?" My little sister.
What
You've
in
met
the
her.
world?
Aw,
so I
well,
got
that's your dance name. then.
Doe.
Yeah, that's your dance name.
I mean, rolling in dough. I'm not mad at that.
That's when she's twerking. That's her dance move. So
Are you-
just dope?
Okay, so let's say you
Oh.
had to explain to a blind person what twerking is. Like you had to narrate the action as a twerker.
As a twerker, I'm not a twerker.
You're the best twerker I know.
How would you like, or if you were gonna write the Webster Dictionary definition of twerking, what is that?
Shake that ass. I don't know.
Like cheeks clap. Like
I
I know what it is in my brain, but if someone asked, I couldn't answer that question.
I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah,
Like-
you gotta like,
Pop your butt.
yeah, but
It originated from the Tootsie Roll. I'm just gonna go there.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding. But I feel like that. Like that's like the dance moves we did back in the day whenever I was
I mean, that's
young.
the closest
like,
one to it.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
History of dance.
I don't know.
We're gonna have to Google that later.
Right. I was about to say, I'm surprised you don't know because dance is life.
Yeah, well, I didn't twerk, so I didn't pop my ass. I popped.
I've seen you
But-
twerk your ass. Let me tell
She
you.
does, it's her default.
Yeah.
If you
you're
ever
right, you're right.
Instagramming and she wasn't ready for it, she pops right into the twerk.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like, yes.
No.
I recall just recently we were on Margot's birthday
Yeah.
trip and we jump out of the truck and we're twerking.
That was like
Why?
one of the most popular
Reels.
responses. Like everybody was like, "What is going on? You guys are twerking everywhere," and I'm like, "You must not know us in real life."
Yeah.
because,
Total random moments are epic.
I know.
in our programming.
Right? I know when people always respond to stories and they're like, whoa, that's crazy or something. I'm like, you must not really know me because all I did was just record this one. These are the things. Like this reel you just posted of me singing, was it Billie Jean or something stupid? In my head, I'm like, I do that all day, every day,
Yeah.
sing random stuff. It's just, it has never been published.
Do you randomly sing TikTok trend songs?
No.
Or reels?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the new, like, that's how people are kind of putting their music out now.
Yeah.
It's like the new way to market yourself. There's no demo anymore. There's no EP. They're just releasing things on TikTok and
And
Instagram
blowing up.
and blowing up.
Going viral.
So yeah, there's some trendy shit on there. So yeah, I'll find myself and Kristen laughed at me, but I'll be like, this is a bop.
Yeah. Yeah. She said that the other day. She goes, "This is a bop," and I was like,
Whatever.
who?
Just because it doesn't sound as cool as it's a banger. This is a banger.
This music slaps.
Yeah.
Wow, run it back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
I
bop.
love it. Well, speaking of trends, what trends do you wish we skipped over in the motorcycle industry?
Oh shit. High tube socks.
Really?
Oh no, I forgot who I was talking to.
I'm a Dynabro. My Dynam's outside right now.
Dude, your Dinah's sick though. High tube socks. What else? What else is annoying?
What bikes?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, no, I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna get
It's your opinion.
I'm gonna get shadow banned.
All right.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about what bikes, but
What do you foresee a trend happening? Can you be Jordan right now?
Can I be Jordan? Yeah, he's so prophetic about performance baggers. Those are not done. They're not done. There's just so much more coming for baggers, and frankly, I'm okay with it. I don't need a performance bagger in my life. I've ridden one turbo bagger, and I remember when you hit the turbo and you hear it sounds like a fucking truck coming up behind you, but it's so much fun. But I remember in my head I had that flash that probably anybody who's ridden like a Ducati or Hayabusa, were like, I could die on this, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I never need to do this again. But it's so cool, like what you can do to those things and the amount of power they can make. And we've got bagger racing is huge. King of the Baggers is a big thing. So I think the bagger thing is here for a while. More people are getting into dual sport stuff, the ability to ride on and off road, which is super cool because I think a lot of us who grew up in urban, like more civilized areas, didn't have the opportunity to go like dirt biking. Like my husband grew up ripping dirt bikes across the property. But dirt biking I only got into that, what is it, with you? It was the first time I ever rode a dirt bike in like 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I did street first, then dirt. And I think more people are kind of getting into that idea. I mean, it's just such a easily romanticized vision of just like riding off into the literal sunset in the deserts, like, you know, y'all do every day because you live out here.
No signal, just fucking
It's nice.
enjoying it.
Yeah, I think dual sport stuff is probably gonna become more readily digested and popular, which I'm cool with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's such an adventure. I love that.
It is. You can go anywhere. We got to kind of experience that this weekend on the Pan Ams. That was dope. We pull into Austin and there's like a hot spring and there's, this road might be washed out.
Yeah, y'all did such a good job of communicating like how fun that can be. And, you know, like that's kind of probably the van life version for motorcycles. Is this off-roading, on-road and off-road.
Well, for sure. I mean, we did come across people who were van lifers.
Yeah.
And they were also awestruck that, you know, like these motorcycles are carrying so much of our stuff. We've got our camera equipment, everything. And then we're able to transition from on to off-road, and it's easy. It's not like you're just taking a regular Harley with street tires off the road and hoping that you don't wipe out. Like
me.
You're actually,
That's
you're
adventurous.
better prepared. So it is, you know, something that people can relate to and envision themselves doing. So
you were there the first time I ever dumped a bike in sugar sand. Remember that? It was that Sportster riding to a friend's house he lived in. If you know Florida sugar sand, it's basically, they call it that because it's basically powdered sugar.
Yeah.
A deep, very deep, just impossible. What were you on?
I don't know.
Not a
Probably the
Sportster.
Evo.
Yeah, I think you were on
The Ultra Classic.
the Ultra
Just
Classic.
tiptoeing through the sugar sand.
Yeah, you rode through it and got there, and you were like, just go.
That's what I always tell people. I'm like, just go.
Tiptoe Tina's always coming through.
Oh my God. I was tiptoed this whole trip, which was so funny.
Yeah.
Even with the adaptive ride high, I didn't even notice it because I was just tiptoeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so little.
Yep.
Not that little either.
Well, yes, you are.
You're below average.
Yes.
Just accept that you're below average in one thing and it's out of your control.
I got a Napoleon complex over
But
here.
she literally does not even let that stop her. That's
No.
what I love about it. And it's so funny because, like, we're so different when it comes to, like, riding with other people. She's like, they're going to figure it out. Just let them do it. And I'm like, should I go get their bike for them? Can I just ride it over?
Yeah, she's immediately like, you want me to ride your bike? You want me to ride your bike? And I'm like, no, fucking put your feet down. Like, let's go.
If you've never met Kristen's dad, that's him.
Yeah.
What just happened, that is Johnny Law, like in a nutshell. It's just, you're capable, but you're going to figure that out by being thrown to the wolves, basically.
Yeah. And it's so funny because it's so opposite for me. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm just going to listen to Kristen because she's right. They need to, like, learn how to do it or they need to get through it. It's an
How are you gonna
experience
grow
for
if you
them.
don't go?
But then again, I'm like, I'm the one that's going to run over there, have to pick the bike up off the ground, make, like...
No, you make them do it.
No.
Wipe their
off
tears.
of their little... Yeah. That's me. And it's so funny because it's, like, learning a balance. Like, anytime we're on a trip with, like, a group of women, I'm like, all right, Kristen's here. I'm going to be tough. I'm not gonna let that girl, like, not do it herself. And
I
I'm, like,
know.
looking back. And
You're
I'm like,
so nurturing. Like, Brandy's the nurturing, just...
We
like,
love that.
Yeah, just fostering growth. She's watering the plant, you know?
Yeah.
And Kristen just like, if the plant dies, it wasn't meant to be alive in this space.
Natural selection at its finest.
That is totally it. That is
Plant
it all
dies, it
day.
didn't belong.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay.
But
well.
it's cool because, like, she's right. Like, it is true. Like, they're gonna get through it. They're gonna make it to the destination, and you know, it's gonna be their journey and not me getting in the way.
Yeah.
But I am the first to, like, jump up and be like, if they don't want to do it, I'm like, dude, I will do it for you because I don't want you to have a bad experience. Like, Lainey and our last trip that we went on, like, Lainey, we were going up this big old hill, and I was like, I already know her anxiety level. I'm just gonna go grab her bike for her and take it up.
Yeah.
And I just knew that was going to be, and it's funny because I walk in the house and I'm like, hey, I touched your bike. I moved your bike. I rode your bike. And she's like, cool, because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got their own timeline, their own limits. Like, I think riding baggers is a perfect example. You know, Kristen's always been the one that's like, you can do it. You can do it. She always told me that I could do it. And, you know, I probably always could. I just always wasn't ready to let go of the anxiety of riding a very large motorcycle. But I remember the first time I ever did, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is not hard. It's like riding any other bike. You just kind of have to adjust for the center of gravity and the size and the power and all that stuff. But we can do it. But I needed to, on my own time, get there. And, you know, everybody's like that with different things, like riding in dirt or riding twisties or whatever, you know, riding on the highway. You know, a lot of people, I did that immediately, but a lot of people, that takes some time to be comfortable doing that. And you need a little bit of both of y'all, I think. You need a little bit of the nurture and the patience, and you also need a little bit of like the just fucking do it because you can.
Mm-hmm. You know? Amen. Amen. So rapid fire round.
Oh boy.
If you were to hot mic your helmet, what would we hear?
Yeah. So hot micing my helmet, I would absolutely be commenting on everybody else's shitty fucking driving. Because when I'm in my car or on a bike, I'm fucking Dale Earnhardt. I'm Mario Andretti. I am the best driver that has ever driven. And y'all are the cars in Frogger in my way.
And then every time you fuck up, you're like, oops.
You know, and like one of the trends going on social right now is like the left lane is for crime. I thoroughly believe that. Like, if you're sitting in the left lane doing the speed limit,
I hate that.
Fucking move. This lane is for speeding and getting around. Like, get out of my way. So yeah, if you hot mic me, it is absolutely me commenting. I'm like, who is this motherfucker going below the speed limit? Tag light out. Pull him over. Like you'll probably even see me in my help. Pull him over. Tag lights out. Get him out of my fucking way.
What is yours, Kristen?
Yeah. Oh God, singing at the top of my lungs, 1000%. I'll get off a ride and I'm like, I hope I have a voice left because I was jamming hardcore. That's totally 1000%. That's me. What about you?
I'm trying to make myself calm. So I'm breathing. I'm talking to myself. Actually come up with really good ideas for like events and like bringing people together in my helmet. So you'd probably hear me talking about events or stressing about an event.
There you go. What's your next milestone and where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
You call this rapid fire, but you know. Just
2 questions, rapid fire. Let's go.
Okay. What is my next milestone? Okay. Well, no, these go together. I would love to one day be my own boss and do what I do for myself because, you know, I think all of us are very similar in our skill sets. We're very good at marketing, communicating, developing relationships. And, you know, I always thought that was kind of like intrinsic, right? You know, if you're friendly, you can, you know, make connections in the community. It's really not. That's a skill. Yeah. So I would love to start a marketing company that caters to, I don't want to say motorcycles, but maybe gasoline culture at large. It could be aviation because that's, you know, a connection in my family. It could be cars. It can, whatever. It could be off-road stuff. So some kind of like gasoline culture, digital, because that's, you know, where everything's going. Digital marketing firm where I'm my own boss and can, you know, go and do whatever I want.
Love that. So what events or projects do you have coming up?
Well, yeah. So this weekend, actually, I am headed to, so by the time this comes out, it'll have been over, but y'all missed it. I'm headed to Deadwood, South Dakota for the rebirth of the Black Hills Motorcycle Show, which is, I mean, it's going to be huge. We had no idea, I think, when Law Tigers agreed to help, you know, because we're very close friends with the promoter, how big it would actually be. And anyone who's ever been to Sturgis knows how beautiful that area is, how deeply rooted in bike culture that area is, how much those people just love to ride and love where they're from. Deadwood in particular, those people love Deadwood. They would do anything for that city. I guarantee you they'd shoot somebody in the street who threatened their neighbor. You know what I mean? Like old West style stuff. So headed to that. And then Sturgis is coming.
Yep.
So I'll be there for, you know, 8 days bouncing around all the Law Tiger stuff.
The 120?
You know, I got the green light, but man, that's a lot. It looks like so much fun, but it's a lot. I might, but I would love to be able to ride to that. Yeah. You know, that's kind of one thing I've missed is the ability to commute on my motorcycle to these things. And I know, I'm pretty sure the Iron Lilies out of Orlando are going to ride, at least Tiffany is. So I would love to be able to do like a longer ride with them. And then you know what I've never done? Women's motorcycle camp out. That's one thing I've never done. I don't want to plan one.
Come
I already
to the
told
Sin City
you.
Moto Girl one.
I would love to just go and have fun and attend one.
Yeah. That'd be rad.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We have fun. It's a small one. Like I always limit it to like 35 girls. I said it's never going to go over that because I want people to get the opportunity to meet somebody and talk to them and like find a new friend. That's like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how do people follow along with you?
Follow along? How do they find me? Yeah. You're going to make me say it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so
At least it's not Jizz Rag.
Or Jizzy.
I would have been not even shadow banned. I'd be banned if that was my name. It's at girl on 2, like the number wheels. Which, you know, at the time I was like, this is such a poser name. But yeah, I've grown to love it. People call me that.
Yeah.
You're a girl on 2 wheels. Yeah, I mean, that page is not, it's not at all like a fan. It's me and pictures of my kid.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back on a bike, because I was off for a while, I got the Road Glide now. So now that I'm back on a bike, there's much more bike content that there was there for a while. But
yeah, you've got a whole, like, you're accumulating parts for it. You're going to more events. Like, yeah, obviously you had to be a mom, and you still are a mom. But like, now that he's growing into like the toddler stage, you're kind of able to go experience more of what you wanted.
Yeah, it's wild. And I've talked a lot of women in this community who are already mothers. They were a lot of helping me kind of accept and get rid of the guilt of wanting to get back into traveling, because it's so hard. You like, you know, you want to be there with your kid. Of course I miss him, but you also have to be who you are. Otherwise you know, the depression is real. Postpartum is a real thing. And, you know, it's more acceptable to talk about it now, but if you lose who you are in the process of becoming a mother, it dampers that whole situation. You know, I enjoy being a mom so much more because I am the type of mom that I am. I am still who I am. And obviously we talked about, you can share all this with him someday. So yeah, I mean, when I'm home, I'm a mom, I'm his mom. But then when I'm out on the road, you know, I'm working, doing my thing, but still, you know, thinking about little man back there.
Yeah, that's so cute. I love that. So thank you again, Giselle, for joining us for this conversation.
Well, thank you guys.
Yes.
I am so thrilled to be here. Thrilled that we could, you know, support it, and I can't wait to see, you know, what comes next.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, yeah, this whole thing wouldn't be what it was to begin with,
right,
like, without you. So it's cool that you
sweet.
added your fuel to the fire. You can still see what you've grown with it, you know, like, it's so fucking cool, because I can look back and be like, yo, she devoted a lot of her time to this. Like, you can see the passion that you had, and it still is resonating within you, which is rad. So it's so cool to see. Like, I've watched, like, I feel like every stage besides being a kid. I've watched almost every stage of your life, and it's so cool to see you grow into who you are, and still know that there's so much that you're going to grow into. Like, maybe being your own business owner, and, you know, like, what kind of mom you're going to be and what you pass on to him. You know, it's so cool to be around for that. So thank you for letting us join in on that.
You guys too, man. It's, like, it's a pleasure to, like, make lifelong friends who you can cheer on even from afar. You know, we live across country from each other, but I'm like always in your Instagrams cheering you on, like, out loud.
Yes.
Hot mic my life. It's just me being like, fuck yeah, Brandy! On the toilet.
Right? I know. I love that.
That's amazing.
So, Brandy, take it away with what we've got going on.
Oh, man, we have so much. So by the time that this airs, we'll have already gone to Deadwood. So we're heading out to Deadwood in a couple weeks for the Deadwood Moto Show. We've also got the In Cahoots Moto Camp out that's happening in Colorado. So we'll be out there for that. And then over to the 120 bike experience, or Harley Davidson Homecoming. So
yeah, and then Sturgis right after. Like, it's crazy. It'll be rolling so quickly.
It'll be rolling fast. And then Four Corners Rally after that. We've got the Brawl at Red Rock Harley. There's so many things coming up. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Exactly. And we want to give a really special shout out to Law Tigers. I know we mentioned them a couple times in this podcast, but really, truly, like, they are there for you whenever you need it, but also obviously all along the journey. So it's super cool. They are America's motorcycle lawyers, and if you or anyone you ever know is in a motorcycle accident, please call Law Tigers first. Please, they will get you taken care of. They are riders themselves, which is rad, and they support the community. Most importantly, they fight to protect riders. So that's what we love, and we're so thankful that we have a connection to that, because, you know, you're gonna have down points, unfortunately, when you are motorcycle riding. We don't wish that upon anybody, but, you know, if that were to happen, and possibly when it does, you know, you are protected and you have help. So
you have people looking out for you, the best interest of you, not what's best for them.
We're in your corner.
Yep. So yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Daughters of the Road. We're so excited to share all these stories, and, you know, we have them rolling pretty much every 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
you know, keep staying tuned. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anywhere you consume your digital content. And yeah, stay tuned because there's a lot of things in the works and we are so excited about it.
Yes, we are.
In the
Yep.
twerks.
And the twerks. Twerking, working.